It is actually possible to see the entire world as your manifestation. And at first, that sounds like a very mystical kind of statement. It somehow seems to give off the impression that I'm talking about me as the person somehow manifesting the world. And of course, sometimes the word manifestation is used in this way, where people say that they can somehow influence what is happening in the world. They are manifesting their own desire or their own intention into existence in the world. But when I say that you are manifesting the world, I mean it in a much more radical way. I don't just mean that you have some kind of influence on the world. I actually mean that you are creating the world. That the world has no existence separate from you. You are, in some sense, the sole author of the world, we could say. But of course, if we want to make sense of this kind of statement, we have to look through a different lens. As long as we are experiencing the world through this sense of separation, through this lens of there being solid, self-existing things and beings, then of course this statement is going to sound nonsensical to some degree. So if we're trying to break down this statement, if we're trying to make sense of it, we should first look at what we mean by you when I say you are manifesting the world. The you I'm referring to here is of course not this body, and it is not some kind of entity residing within the body. The you I'm talking about here is simply awareness. It is this wide open, unlimited, unbounded field of awakeness, which is taking in this experience right now. And so this you, of course, then is not something that is tied to your personal identity. So in this sense, even calling it you or I, if you are speaking from your own perspective, is somewhat misleading, of course. It seems to give us the impression that this I of awareness is somehow personal. But when we actually trace back this light of knowing to its source, then what we discover is that this awareness is not personal at all. It has no identification to it, no label, no name. It doesn't even have a location in space. It doesn't exist in time. So, like I said, really, there's nothing personal about it. And so, in the statement that the world is your manifestation, it is always this I of awareness that is being referred to. But if I'm speaking about it like this, there is still a kind of duality there. We could now interpret this as saying that this awareness is somehow creating a world which is separate from it. And indeed, there is often a kind of intermediary step where we have the sense that we are this awareness which is now taking in this world of objects. But there is still a very essential duality there. We are somehow conceptualizing and perceiving a world which is separate from us, even though it is now separate in a different way. It is no longer I, the body, that is separate from the world. It is I, awareness, that is separate from the world. And so if you want to see the world as our manifestation, we have to see the emptiness of this duality. We have to see that there is essentially no difference in substance between this awareness which we are and these perceptions of the world. And so again, returning to this statement that we are manifesting the world, we are in this context not talking about a world which is separate from us and exists in some kind of objective, physical way. And to understand this, we have to remember or recognize that the world we are perceiving is actually never an outside physical world. The only world we can ever perceive is the world within awareness, the one that consists of our perceptions. And it's very easy to overlook how radical of an insight this really is, because we have this strong sense that whenever we are walking around in the world, that we are somehow seeing the world as it exists separate and independently of us. There is this strong sense that all these objects and people we are seeing are existing in a concrete and independent way, separate and independent of us. But of course, that's never actually true. Just see right now how all you know of the outside world in this instance is the experience of seeing. And where does seeing take place? Does seeing take place out there? Or is seeing taking place in awareness? Of course, it has to take place in awareness. If that wouldn't be the case, then necessarily you wouldn't be aware of seeing. The only world you can be aware of is the one you are seeing. And seeing, by definition, is only known by awareness. So what then is the relationship that awareness has to seeing, or any other perception for that matter? Well, if we investigate what seeing is made of and what awareness is made of, we can tell that there is no difference in substance there. All there is to awareness is awareness itself. And all there is to seeing is the awareness of it. And one very simple way to recognize this is to think about what would happen to the experience of seeing if awareness wasn't there. What would happen to this visual field if awareness wasn't here? Of course, the visual field wouldn't exist either. Seeing wouldn't be possible. So in that sense, we can reduce the experience of seeing to awareness itself. Seeing, therefore, is empty of inherent existence. It depends on awareness. So there is this non-separation between awareness and seeing. We cannot pull them apart. They are non-dual in relationship to each other. And so for this reason, everything that is seen or everything that is experienced at all is just in some sense a form and expression of this essential awareness, which is just here, established, unbounded, awake, unlimited. And of course you can do the very same thing with any other kind of perception, be it hearing or feeling or thinking or smelling or tasting. All of these sense fields are, in a very essential way, just forms, expressions, or manifestations of awareness, because they don't have an existence which is separate from this basic awareness. They are empty of inherent existence. They merely exist as forms and expressions of this awareness. So again, returning to this initial statement of you are manifesting the world, what we mean here is that you as awareness are manifesting the world within your existence. You are taking the shape and form of the world. And therefore, everything is just your own flow, the patterning of your own being. Everything is just your manifestation. And if you followed along with this kind of inquiry, which might seem rather philosophical, then you might have already gotten a taste of this. You might have followed along in your own experience and seen, okay, this is true in a very fundamental way. But often it's also the case that we need a more directed and meditative approach in order to discover this for ourselves. If you feel like you need some guidance in this regard, you can of course reach out to me directly through my website, which is linked in the description. But other than that, if you have any questions on this topic or anything else, you can also just write in the comments and I will do my best to answer there. Thank you for watching, and I will see you right here next time.